Hello out there, you wonderful people. This is Andre, the Game Idea Guy. Thank you once again for lending me your time and your ear listening into another Gamer's Thoughts discussion. And this is something I really wasn't even planning to touch on. But then a particular member of that team has to say something, and they say something that is so egregious that I personally just be like, yeah, you know what? I do have to say something. And you've read the title already. This is about the G4 meltdown by I don't even know her name, but the girl that threw a fit over somebody saying she's not as bangable as previous host. Now, there's a lot of different things I could say about that particular statement. I'm not even jumping right on that. I probably will say something about it in particular. But then there was also a thing where a particular person that's initials is ass basically decided that they were going to say that people in their family who are Republicans need to eat shit and die. I mean, now granted, I don't really dive into the whole politics thing, and I don't really care what side you lean on as long as you're a decent person. And I have learned over time that there are decent people that lean towards Republican, and there are decent people that lean towards Democrat, and then there's a whole swath of these decent people that are somewhere in the middle of those two ideologies. I really don't give a fuck about what you politically follow as long as you are a decent person. And I think that that's something that has overshot a lot of the apparent intelligence that people that are a part of G4 have right this moment. Now, that is the thing that really ticked me off and inspired me to decide that I had to speak up on the overall issue. One, fuck Adam Sessler. Fuck Adam Sessler, because I really don't give a shit about him. He's had a shitty personality for as long as he's been a face in the industry. Secondly, he was there for all of the shit that I'm about to talk about. That this particular girl decided that she was going to have a rant over about not being bangable. So, if Adam Sessler was such a great person as he deems himself to be, apparently, because he believes in doxing people for being shitty people on the internet. But what about himself? I mean, he has been a shitty human being on the internet, and he's okay with doxing. So if we follow that logic, then that means that he would be okay with someone else going ahead and taking that comment that he made and putting out his personal information and his location so that other people can, harass him based on what he has said before in the past. I don't agree with doxing. I think that is a trash human thing to do, and it's damaging and dangerous on top of that, because if you let the wrong person get that information, someone could actually lose their life. But hey, let Adam run with his own logic because he's a fucking asshole, okay? Let's let him do that. Secondly, we're going to go ahead and break down her desire to rant about the fact that she's not bangable. The girl whose name I can't even think of off the top of my fucking head. Because a lot of people that ended up in G4 knew somebody to get themselves there, which isn't a bad thing. I'm not downplaying that, because that's how you get somewhere in an industry. You know people, you contact them, you talk to them, you get in where you fit in. I'm not even up against that. But the fact of the matter is that she decided to throw on a whole rant about how she's not there to be objectified. Like, firstly, objectifying someone and sexualizing them can actually be separate things. They are not mutually exclusive. To sexualize someone is to see them as a sexual object. To objectify someone is to treat them as an object. So, for that fact of the matter, let's just go ahead and say, and I'm going to agree with Razor Fist on this, that G4 actually objectified their audience for a good long time. Secondly, she's on G4, the website where they were licking pieces of plastic sexually, making sexual jokes, talking about riding motorcycles bareback or raw dogging it on a motorcycle. If I remember correctly, that was Jeff Keighley that said that, right? I could be wrong. I think that was Jeff Keighley that said that. You're a part of a company that spent nearly a decade sexualizing its hosts and anchors for their shows. You're literally a part of a company that did that. And that's how they were represented in the media. Now, it's people's opinions, for one. I don't know who thought Morgan Webb was bangable. Somebody had to, obviously. Me personally, her personality always kind of, ugh. I think for the first year she had an okay personality, but after that it was just kind of, you could see it. It's just one of those things that's like, if I met her in person, I would not like her. Olivia Munn, on the other hand, she seemed to have a nicer personality than Morgan, but honestly, between the two of them, they're probably just as catty and bad as the other, at least from what's observable. But Olivia was especially heavily sexualized on G4 by G4, and she signed up for that because they knew it was an easy way to get guys to pay attention. And that was the whole purpose of using that sexualization. So they literally sexualized their host, their female host, in order to objectify their male audience. Because if they treated them like ATMs, they figured, hey, we can do this, we can promote this stuff. That means anything that's purchased or any purchases that happens, those kickbacks come in because of how we're advertising these things. And we're getting more views and things because of the sexual nature of what we're doing. But they were never there to be objectified or sexualized, even though the company did it themselves. And they did it to both Morgan and Olivia, and I think a couple other female personalities that they had. So, firstly, you're wrong on that. That's what G4 did. And you're representing them as this holy, Puritan company. Now, let's just think about things here. Logically speaking, a lot of the people who are heavy-handed against a particular thing usually involve themselves in that particular thing, especially when they are highly vocal about it. It's like a way to deflect away from themselves, like how you find out that certain people in politics in power will say that they are against people, diddling kids, and then you find out that these people were diddling kids. Or they'll say that women should be respected more in the workplace, and then you come to find out that this dude has his secretary stripping on a pole in his office, or this particular female senator has a guy who works for her that she fucks in the closet somewhere. You find these types of things out, and I'm not giving any direct examples. Now, if this just so happens that both of those things did happen, that was wholly an accidental guess. But examples of those types of things have happened before, and I just pulled those off the top of my head. I want to clarify that before somebody lines that up with something else that may have happened that I do not know about. The sad thing is I had to do that just in case. But next thing is, you ranted about that statement. And it doesn't matter if that statement was made multiple times. It could have been made by one person on multiple accounts. It could have been made by multiple different people. You don't feed into the trolls. So honestly, you guys should not, and I repeat this, you guys should not be seeing the live chat feed. There should be someone being a filter and buffering that. That way, if there are actual legitimate questions, that person can forward those questions over so that the team can actually see them and respond to them. But you should not be live on a show trying to be professional reading those comments. Because again, then we have the situation where you have a personal outburst on a comment that was made. And it makes you look ridiculous, especially when somebody can go back and look at the history of the company that you're working for and the people that you worked with. Mr. Adam Sessler, first one to sit there and virtual signal about everything, was there during all of it. So again, you're working for a shitty company full of people that act shitty and treat other people shitty. So when you do something like this, especially when you go on a virtuous rant And then everyone can look back at the videos that are literally clearly displayed across the internet, where you can see stuff that says the exact opposite of the thing that you threw a fit and rant about. It makes you look bad. And it also makes you look stupid because you said you grew up watching G4. And if you grew up watching G4, then you knew these things were happening. So either you were trying to pretend those things didn't happen, or you didn't actually grow up watching it. One of those two statements is true. Because you would have to be cognizant of that knowledge, and you'd have to not be cognizant of that knowledge, or trying to fake its existence, fake it not existing. So yeah, G4 definitely sexualized those women heavily because it made them money, and they were going to do it as long as it made them money. Now, the fact that it is not as popular a thing to do is why they don't do it, and why they would let you go on a tirade like this that makes them look horribly unprofessional as a company, which could be bad for advertising and it could be bad for branding at some point, especially if someone gets to digging into things that you may have done as a person and that ends up coming to light. There's a lot of things to consider before you allow yourself to fly off the handle like that. Now, I'm not even going to try to say you are personally a bad person. I will say that Adam Sessler is, but I won't say that you are, because I don't know you. I literally know nothing about you other than this rant that became off illogical. And on top of that, you pick that to rant about. You pick that type of comment to rant about. Again, you don't feed the trolls, because somebody said that just to see if they get a rise out of you, and you failed the shit test. That much is very clear. You failed the shit test. They got you. And they got you to go on a tirade and give it attention, which if you ignored it, this wouldn't even have been a situation that people would be making fun of you about. And a shit ton of people are making fun of you about this. It's literally almost all over social media, especially in the gaming community. Especially when people in the gaming community who have memories like elephants will go back and be like, yeah, no, that's not true. Let me go ahead and show you where you're wrong. So, the only other thing that comes off to me like this is that you would flip out over not being bangable or as bangable as the prior hosts, who were sexualized a lot, mind you, who were definitely highly sexualized by the company that you're working for, that fell out of popularity because their content became crap. And nobody wanted to follow them because their reviews and things were bullshit. Which is one of the things that you had mentioned in your tirade, was about you and everybody else working on those reviews. You do know that attractiveness is also, it isn't always just physical. It is also how you are as a person, how you present yourself. That also plays into attractiveness. And again, for me personally, Morgan Webb was never an attractive person to me personally, because her personality always seemed to have this thing that grained against mine personally. So I never really watched a show for Morgan, and I didn't see enough of Olivia to really care about her outside of the fact that she just was there. But she made something out of her career. So that was, she used it as a stepping stone to make something out of her career. Good on her. But attractiveness is also in how you behave. Now, if you personally act like an asshole and you have a shitty personality and the way that you present your thoughts and ideas comes off as if you are someone who is above everyone else, you know better than everyone else, people are going to not be attracted to that. They're going to be put off by it. And I can tell from your tone, that's how you talk on a regular basis. You talk from a position of superiority to people who aren't looking for superiors, but are looking for, comrades, friends, people that they can identify with, people that represent themselves as well as represent ideas that they agree with or that they're interested in. And you don't present yourself in a manner that leaves you open to people being able to talk to you. It seems like a thing where they wouldn't be comfortable to talk to you in person. Which is why you have so many trolls that are happy to constantly troll you, especially if they feel like they're going to get a reaction out of you. Because that reaction is their entertainment. That's something that they can use against you, something that they can make fun of you with, something that they can break down and put your character down with, and will do on a regular basis if you keep allowing it to go. Now, personally, if I were to have seen that comment myself, and I felt I needed to actually respond to it, I wouldn't go the route of having a tirade on a live stream over it. Guess what I'd do? I'd play into it. Like, yeah, sure, I'm not as bangable, but that also means that it leaves me open for you to listen more. That means that you would likely listen to my opinion better because you're not distracted. You could have played it off smart, but you played it off out of anger and emotion, and it did you no good. It just made you look bad. Now again, Adam Sessler, he's a piece of shit in my book. He's a definite piece of shit in my book. I don't really know much about everybody else on the panel for X-Play currently besides the completionist. And even him I don't know much about because I'm not into watching videos about 100%ing and completing everything in a game. That kind of takes the fun out of it. At least for me. I just heard that he's a decent dude. That's about as far as I know. Everyone else that's on that panel, I could literally run into you personally tomorrow and would not know anything about you. Outside of actually not even knowing that you're an internet personality, I wouldn't even know that. And I think that that is also how the majority of the audience for G4 feels. Outside of some people who were known faces, like everywhere, most of these people are only popular in their small niche, which isn't bad, but we don't really know anything about you. And then people come off with a high and mighty attitude. It doesn't work well with the majority of the audience. And then you're going to have the trolls that are more than happy to do something to grate against your personality, to grate against you as a person, because they know it will grate on you and eventually you will blow and have a moment that they can use against you for almost all of internet eternity. And you gave it to her. This is something that they can eat off of for a long time because you gave it to her. Again, if you guys had a better setup with someone filtering these things out, this wouldn't have even have been a moment. It wouldn't have been a thing that had to be talked about. It wouldn't have even been an issue. The only reason I'm talking about it is because of the fact that Adam Sessler's big-headed, fucking globe-sized skull ass decided that he had to say something that honestly is just a poor reflection of the rest of you. And if his attitude's like that, and he's allowed to go out and say that people that are Republicans in his family should eat shit and die, what does that say about the rest of you? On top of the fact that you had this tirade. That's something to consider. That's something to think about, because again, your personal image and branding are on line with what just happened, and you're associated with Adam Sessler, which is also a knock against you because of the fact that you had this tirade, and that follows it up. Now, I know most people will say, but those things are unrelated. No, they're not They're really not unrelated. They are indicative of a mindset that is there at that particular studio or that particular channel or whatever you wish to call it. There is a mindset that is there, a mindset of we're superior to the people that are listening to us, and that will eventually be what drives the G4 back into the ground, because it was what drove it into the ground in the first place. This is just coming from someone who used to watch G4. I kind of fell off from watching G4 like 2 to 3 years before it finally tanked. Like right after they dropped Tech TV from the name, I think. And they shortly after that fell into obscurity. So again, just know, one, the history of where you're working. It's not like this isn't something that was broadcast on television and isn't available for people to pull up videos of, because it is. And as the person that made the statement, you can't talk from a position of authority on the matter if you don't know. That's something you have to be careful about, because of the fact that you are a well-known, semi-well-known internet personality that people can fact check on a regular basis. Me personally, I always say, if I'm wrong on something, please let me know so I can correct myself, because I don't pretend or act as if I know everything, though I do personally know I do come off a little high and mighty sometimes, personality wise, because of how I talk. And also because I like to laugh at a lot of stuff. And it probably does seem like I think I'm superior to a bunch of people when I don't. But I think I don't want to drag this on too much more. But for G4, you guys need to clean up. Now, if Adam Sessler is tied into a lot of the integral parts of G4, you guys are going to be up shit's creek. Because honestly, he's one of the worst personalities you guys have as a part of that company. And if he is important to your day-to-day operations, you're going to be screwed. I would not see G4 lasting a whole lot of time if this keeps up. Just because of the fact that we know that Adam likes to lie. For sure, he likes to lie. So, again, that's up to you guys to consider. I'm just putting it out there, and I know I'm not the only person that would say this. There are plenty of people who believe and know that Adam Sessler is a piece of shit. And I don't say that lightly. I would not normally say that about most people, but he's one I would definitely say that about. And happily say it from my own platform and position. But that's it. Thank you guys very much for listening, and keep your eyes and ears out for more stuff from me. And until the next time, enjoy your games and peace out. And if you have any opinions, please throw them in the pile.